Welcome to day 8. Today we're going to learn how to evaluate functions. Now, you might be wondering, what is evaluate? In algebra, to evaluate means to simplify an equation or an expression. So we're going to substitute a number for a variable and we're going to simplify. So our goal, again, is to evaluate function using function notation. Let's take a look at an equation. Okay, you have your y equal to x plus 5. Can you identify the variable y and the variable x? What is another name for the variable y and variable x? Well, another name for y is the output, and another name for x is the input. So you have an equation where x is the input and y is the output. And we say y is equal to 2x plus 5. Here you have a function notation. Notice that the same equation. So here you have f of x is equal to 2x plus 5. So our goal is to understand the function notation. It's no different than the equation. So equation and functions are pretty much the same thing, but written in a different format. Now, can you identify the input? Let's take a look at this. Which one is the input? Here, x was the input. So, the input would be, your x. Okay. Notice your y is replaced with f of x. So now, you have to identify the output. Well, the f of x is the output, which is equal to 2x plus 5. So either f of x, the whole thing, or 2x plus 5, the whole thing, is your output. Okay? So again, it's written very similar, but yet it's a little different. So the output is f of x, the whole thing. Not just the x or the 5. It's highlighted here. 2x plus 5 is the output. And f is the name of the function. So before we move on to activity number 2, make sure you understand the function notation and the equation. So in activity 2, we're going to write the equation using the function notation and the function using the equation notation. We can use any name for the function. So for example, most commonly used name is f, sometimes g and h, but it doesn't matter. So again, your input is the x and the output is y. So if we were to write this equation using the function notation, we would say y is a function of x. So x is the input, y is a function of x. So y of x is equal to 3x minus 2. So not much changed. The equation remains 3x minus 2. The y is replaced with y of x. So y is a function of x. Again, inside the parentheses will always be your input. I'm going to rewrite this function into an equation. So you have g of x. G is a function of x, which is equal to 9x squared. So your input, what's going to go inside the parentheses, is again going to be x. So it would be g equal 9x squared. Okay, I'm going to do one more and I'll let you try the rest on your own. So r is equal to 2t minus 5. So r is a function of t. T is the input. So will t go inside the parentheses or r go inside the parentheses? Ask yourself. The answer is r is a function of t, so it's going to be r of t equal to 2t minus 5. Again, not much have changed on the right side. The equation has remained the same. Okay, you can try the next 3 examples on your own. In the second part of this activity 2, we're going to be filling in the blanks. So here's a sentence. We need to complete the sentence. So in the function notation, the blank is placed inside the parentheses. what goes inside the parentheses? Ask yourself, is it the input variable, output variable, f of x, x, or y? And let's see. It is the input variable. Again, another name for input variable is x. So you could say x or input variable. Those are the two right answers. The second sentence. So f of x is equal to 5 indicate that the blank is equal to 5. If f of x is equal to 5, then what is equal to 5? Is it the input variable equal to 5, the output, f of x, x, or y? Again, what goes inside the parentheses is your input. You don't have that. You have f of x is equal to y. So which means either the y or the output variable is the answer. So f of x equal to 5 indicates that the output variable is equal to 5. So y is equal to 5. Okay. You can try the rest on your own. Remember, there are more than one answers, and you'll be using these words from the list. So we have our equation y equal to x plus 5, and we want to write this as a function notation, which is simply replace y with f of x. So f of x is equal to x plus 5. Now understand that when we say find f of 2, okay, are we looking for the input or the output? Are we looking for the x or the y? Remember, again, what goes inside the parenthesis is your input, so we're looking for the output. So we know x is equal to 2. Okay, so that's what it is. We're gonna write as an equation. Then we're gonna replace x with x. So x is equal to 2, so we're gonna replace x with 2. And we're going to simplify. Now we should actually write this as a functional notation because that's our goal. So when the input is 2, right? When input is 2, we get 9 as an output. So we could say f of 2 is equal to 9. Here's another way you can write y equals 9. So f of 2 is equal to 9. In example 2, we're asked to find x when f of x is equal to 19. So ask yourself, are we looking for x or y? The answer is y is equal to 19 and we're looking for x. So let's write this as an equation first. Then we're going to replace f of x with 19. So f of x is y. We're going to replace y with 19. So we have 19 is equal to 2x plus 5. And we're going to solve this two-step equation by subtracting 5 from both sides. Then we're going to divide both sides by 2. Here's a mistake. It should be 2 because we have 14 is equal to 2x. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. So we get 7 is equal to x, or x is equal to 7. Now when the input is 7, we get 19. So we're going to write this as a function notation. So we'll use f for function. Okay, what goes inside the parentheses is our x value. So f of 7 is equal to, we already know it's equal to 19. So f of 7 is equal to 19. So above would be kind of the same thing. That would be the function notation. So in activity 3, we're going to be evaluating function given an input. We're going to evaluate these functions below, and we're going to write our final answer using the function notation. Notice that we have 3 different functions. We have our f of x, we have h of x, and then we have g of x. And we're going to evaluate for f of 10, g of 10, and we're going to write our answer using the function notation. Notice we're given an input and we're looking for the output. So let's start with f of 10. Okay, again, this means the input is 10 And again, the input, what goes inside the parentheses, is our x value. So another way we should write this is simply x is equal to 10. Now you have to understand that meaning the same thing. Here's an arrow going in both directions. F of 10 means x is equal to 10. G of 2 means that x, because inside the parentheses you have x is equal to 2. So we're given input for all of these examples, and we're going to look for the output. So f of 10, we're going to be using the f function, and g of 2, we're going to be using the g function, and in another example we have h of negative 2, we'll be using the h function. So let's start with f of 10. So I have 2x plus 5 on the right side. Now you got to be really careful with this. You're going to get confused. A lot of kids get confused. There's no y, but instead of y we have f of x on the left side. You can simply put y, but then we're not using functional notation. Again, our goal for this lesson is to use the functional notation. So I'm simply going to put f of x on the left side of the equal sign. And just imagine that is your y. It's another way of writing your equation. So this is the functional notation. Our x is equal to 10. So we should replace x with 10. Now where do you see x? There's x right here. Okay. And there's x right here. This is just the functional notation. We'll be doing the math on the right side of the equation. So f of 10, we're going to replace x with 10, is equal to 2 times 10. Let me fix that 10. 2 times 10 plus 5. Okay. Again, very similar to the example 1 we did earlier. Simplify the right side. We get 20 plus 5. So we get 25. So f of 10 is equal to 25, and that's how it's written using the functional notation. So when input is 10, we get 25 as the output. Let's try to look at the, let's try to find g of 2. Again, we're going to use the g function, and we have the input. So x is the input. We're going to replace x with 2. And it's going to go over here. And then that's going to go also over here. You can start with the equation. Replace 2 with x. We get 20. And you could just simply draw an arrow going down if you are too lazy to work on the left side. So simply write this as a function notation. You'll say g of 2 equals 20. So there you go. We evaluated using the function notation. Now let's do one more last example. This is the quadratic equation. In example C, we're going to find h of negative 2. So we do have to use the h function. Here is our h function, 3x squared minus 6. Replace x with negative 2 and do the exponent first. Then do the multiplication. We get 12 minus 6, which is equal to 6. So h of negative 2 is equal to 6. I'm going to write that using the function notation. H of negative 2 is our input, and we get 6 as an output. Okay. Again, in this activity 3, we were given the input, which was x in this case, as all the time, and we were looking for the output. And we wrote our final answer using the function notation. Now you're responsible for doing example D, E, and F on your own. Alright, in our next video we're going to show you how to evaluate more function given an output.